as I was saying, Joy Taylor, every dog has its day. And since I'm a big dog, I've got 2 days. Okay. So now.
You just called yourself a dog?
Yeah, I'm a dog. Yeah, I'm a big dog, a big one.
Kevin Durant is 6'11", who can pull up from 40. Okay. This brother is on that level. I'm talking about offensively.
Do you think you're better than Darrelle Revis is right now?
I'm better than you.
What up? It's your boy Mark Brown, and welcome back to another episode of the Lowdown Podcast. And before I proceed, if you've been an avid listener of this podcast since May 31st, 2019, which was my very first episode, I commend you 300%. Get it? 300? Like Chief Keef.
Oh, blah. Bang, bang.
Okay. No need to get carried away, but I just had to throw it in there. You know, it's always a pleasure to have a reference within the first 10 to 20 seconds of the episode because, hey, I got to get your attention somehow, right? But speaking of getting attention, the NFL has been making a lot of noise the past week or so. It's just been incredible. All these trades that have been happening. I've been covering it pretty much the entire week, as a matter of fact. We go from Alan Bell to my homie Adam Abramson. My fault, Adam. I stuttered on your name. So if you're listening to this, my apologies. And we go from Adam to Jason Britch, now to myself again. So basically, I'll be recapping, not necessarily recapping the entire thing, but I'm just going to recap what's happened the past couple of days or so, because it seems like every time I upload an episode about the NFL free agency, some more noise is striking as actually after I record the podcast. That happened to me three times already. So hopefully this time I'm 100% accurate. Hopefully no more noise is meant to happen after this. I mean, there's still a bunch of prospects right now that are still free agents, which I'm going to cover in a second. But I'm just going to be talking about what happened, like I said, the past couple of days. And it's just been insane. I mean, and then before I proceed with that, if you're listening to this podcast, by the way, I'm hoping you guys are washing your hands 24/7, kind of like Meek Mill.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all day, 24/7.
Sorry, again, it slipped out again. But either way, what was I talking about again? See, these references made me lose my train of thought, but I'm just going to keep on going. So basically, yeah, definitely wash your hands because it seems like the coronavirus has been just really torturing Americans as we speak. I mean, we're jumping like on average like 1,000 to 2,000 cases per day, it seems. Like, how do we go from 150 cases last week to nearly 15,000 cases today? I don't know. Maybe we're testing more, but there's no need for me to dive into that. I can leave that to the professionals out there that have been covering that ordeal. So anyway, back to what I was saying. So to start off, I want to talk about my favorite team, which is the Denver Broncos. I know I haven't really mentioned it that much in this podcast, but every time I do talk about the NFL, I got to talk about my Broncos. And so for those who haven't been paying attention the past, 24 hours or so, I'm going to tell you what happened. So starting off, we got a big deal with Melvin Gordon. Okay, so Melvin Gordon was the star running back for the LA Chargers, formerly the San Diego Chargers when he was a rookie. But either way, he was a superstar running back for the Chargers. He agreed to a 2-year, $60 million deal with the Denver Broncos. But see, I'm gonna go ahead and express my opinion about that. I don't know how I'm feeling about it, honestly. I'm happy, but at the same time, not really. And the reason why I say not really is because we didn't necessarily need another running back. I mean, Denver already has a lot of depth. I mean, you already have the Tasmanian Devil, for out loud, Philip Lindsay, who I'm talking about. Philip Lindsay is a top-tier running back. As a matter of fact, Philip Lindsay has been more consistent than Melvin Gordon has the past couple of seasons. So I don't understand the need for another running back. I mean, Melvin Gordon obviously is staying in the AFC West, but I just didn't feel the need on why they picked him up. And another thing is, Melvin Gordon had a holdout last year during the offseason. I mean, he didn't even start the season right away. I mean, it was Austin Eckler who really emerged this past season, and he's now going to be the top go-to running back, knowing that Melvin Gordon is with Denver now. And to be honest with you, Austin Eckler was a better running back than Melvin Gordon this past season. Melvin Gordon was very inconsistent. He had 4 fumbles and 204 touches. So that right there, and then plus one of those fumbles, I'll never forget. One of those fumbles he did was a turnover, which allowed a victory for the Tennessee Titans during the 2019 season. So that's another thing. So Melvin Gordon, not only has he been inconsistent, he needs to fix the fumble problem. And he needs to stay healthy because he's been in and out of injury as well. But I would say the pros from this would be that Philip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon are going to be the 1-2 punch in the backfield. And Royce Freeman is still under contract with the Denver Broncos. But that left Devontae Booker as an unrestricted free agent because, I mean, that's too much cap space and that's too many running backs, big-time running backs, I would say, like highly talented running backs all on one roster. So, again, I mean, I'm happy with the pickup, but at the same time, like the real position that needs to be filled is the wide receiver position. Cortland Sutton is like the team's top weapon as of now. He was a top weapon last season. It's just after getting rid of Demaryius Thomas and all that, but he obviously didn't do anything for 3 years at the time he left. But either way, Cortland Sutton is an emerging player. This will be his third season, and he definitely stepped up last year and definitely during his rookie season. But that's the thing. The Broncos desperately need another top-tier receiver. That's something I'm waiting on. I was hoping they would pick up a receiver this whole time. I thought maybe DeAndre Hopkins had a shot. This might sound ridiculous to you guys who are listening, but I really thought, props to Arizona because Arizona also was a mediocre team. I'm not saying Denver is, but Denver hasn't really, been able to get over the hump they've had the past, 4 seasons now. And, acquiring a receiver on the same talent level as DeAndre Hopkins would have been very much needed for Denver. And I don't know what to say about that. I mean, there's still a few receivers. I mean, Emmanuel Sanders might as well come back, right? I mean, he's a free agent right now, one of the top guys in the market. That's still, like I said, a free agent. So maybe somebody like him or on that level should return to Denver because that's who they desperately need. But at the same time, the running backs are going to look good. And Drew Lock, I mean, he definitely stepped up whenever it was his time because Joe Flacco is no longer with Denver. So it's obvious now that Drew Lock is going to be the number one guy. But at the same time, Jeff Driscoll was picked up this past Tuesday from the Detroit Lions, and Jeff Driscoll has started, 8 career games, and he could serve as a veteran backup to Drew Lock. So that should be, some depth with the quarterback position and obviously with the running back position as well with Denver. But again, receivers, the defense already looks good. So, actually, they still look good despite the fact that they lost Chris Harris Jr. because Chris Harris Jr. also got traded. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention. He got traded not too long ago. It was actually earlier this week. So, again, Chris Harris Jr., we're going to miss you, buddy. I mean, he's definitely made some Pro Bowl appearances here and there while he was at Denver, and he also won a championship with Denver. So, the fact that he's gone to the Chargers, man, I mean, it kind of makes sense. So, that guy's they basically traded places like Usher. Another reference. But there's that. But again, how did I forget the other big news? The freaking Atlanta Falcons, for crying out loud. The Atlanta Falcons picked up Todd Gurley, as a matter of fact. Todd Gurley didn't even last 24 hours as a free agent, buddy. You know that? Just yesterday, this guy tweeted out saying, "Dang, I got fired on my day off. Hashtag self-quarantine," or whatever it was. I don't have the tweet on me right now, but he tweeted that just a day ago saying that he lost a job. But he found a new one within a 24-hour period, and it's a 1-year, $6 million deal. So now the Falcons, on the other hand, might be a team to watch for because, hey, don't get it twisted. Now the Falcons have made 2 playoff visits in the past 5 years and a Super Bowl appearance, as a matter of fact, which was up to 4 seasons ago now. And this is all under head coach Dan Quinn. Now, I know a lot of Atlanta fans are not really happy with this guy, but I feel like during his 5-year tenure in Atlanta, he's done a pretty decent job. I mean, think about it. You get a Super Bowl appearance and a playoff appearance after that, but they've been inconsistent and mediocre the past 2 seasons. But knowing that Matt Ryan is a veteran quarterback, their offense is going to look just incredible. And the reason why I say that is because now, if you really think about it, with the addition of Todd Gurley, I mean, not only do you have Matt Ryan, now you got one of the best, if arguably the best receiver in the league, Julio Jones, and you got Calvin Ridley, who's been really stepping up his past couple of seasons, and then you have one of the biggest tight ends that have really made some noise the past couple of seasons as well, and that's Hayden Hurst. So if you really think about it, 10 of the 11 projected starters offensively for Atlanta entered the NFL as first-round picks. This is all in Atlanta alone. So the NFC South is going to be just filled with, I mean, this is a popcorn emoji. It's going to be filled with entertainment. So now you got 3 veteran quarterbacks battling out in one division, and that is Matt Ryan, Tom Brady with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Drew Brees since he decided to return with the New Orleans Saints. So those 3 guys are going to be clashing twice at each other throughout the season, and the NFC South might be the most watched division in that division. Not only that division, but really out of the entire NFL. You got so many great players, and that's why I like this NFL free agency this year. I mean, there's so much noise being made, and I mentioned it in the previous episodes with my guests saying that the NFL's taking advantage of this lockdown that's going on with all these other sports. Well, not really necessarily lockdown. You get what I'm saying? Like these suspensions, it's unfortunate the NBA is suspended and the XFL has been suspended or canceled officially today. So that brings my point with this. So now there are players from the XFL that are free to join the NFL as they wish. So what I'm going to bring up is there's two players in particular that the NFL is targeting at the moment, and that is the stellar quarterback out of the Houston Roughnecks team, and that is P.J. Walker, because P.J. Walker was on the verge of leading this team to an XFL championship because the Houston Roughnecks were undefeated at the time the season was canceled, and P.J. Walker threw for nearly 2,000 yards in just 5 games. Can you believe that? I'm going to say that again. Nearly 2,000 yards in just 10 games. How do you do it? How do you do it? That's what I'm saying, right? I don't understand that, man. So P.J. Walker is going to be the top prospect coming out of the XFL, and there's another receiver that's also a top-tier prospect who caught a few passes for nearly 500 yards as well. So when you look at that, props to those two guys. I mean, the XFL seems like it's cursed because during the inaugural season, it got canceled. I don't remember why because I was too young. But this year, it got canceled under dire circumstances. I mean, a lot of things got canceled. People are losing their jobs for crying out loud as I speak, as people continue to get sick and infected with this novel coronavirus, unfortunately, right? So there's my takes on that. But I really feel like this NFL free agency this year has really been just a heck of a ride so far, and then it's not even over yet. So just definitely keep your ears and your eyes wide open for more updates because the noise is going to continue to ring your ears. Okay, that might have been a terrible saying, but hey, I just had to say something about that. Say something just like Drake and Timbaland back in 2009. But I'm not going to have a cutaway for that. But when you really think about it, that's pretty much all I have to say about the NFL free agency thus far. But in other news, I want to talk about some other things. So I'm going to talk about track because I'm a huge track fan. And what I hate to see is the fact that we all know that the NCAA basically suspended the remainder of, they basically suspended all spring sports for the rest of the semester. And then, so pretty much seniors, all their seasons have been taken away from them, but the NCAA luckily granted them another year of eligibility. So it's not completely over unless they do not wish to return another year. But they're free to play another year if they want to, but it's just not going to be the same. Honestly, don't think it's going to be the same because this is an article I read on the Washington Post last night, and I know it's a credible source, but at the same time, this is just a simulation. So they were basically drawing the worst case scenario. They're saying that basically that the coronavirus is not going to just disappear magically. It's going to come in waves from what they're saying. So from highly skilled health officials, they claim that this virus is going to come in waves. So right now, this is the first wave, right? So they're predicting by May of this year, it's going to hit a peak. So that means right now the cases going off of that statement is the fact that it's just getting started. So we're at 15,000 cases right now. So if they're saying there's going to be a peak in May, I do not want to know what that's going to look like. But according to that article, it could get uglier than what Italy is witnessing right now. I really hope not. But if that's the case, let me say it again. So it's going to peak in May, and then it'll eventually subside. They're predicting it to subside by August of this year. But yet again, the virus will strike once more in September, and it'll hit another peak, so another wave, and it'll peak again by November and December. So if that's the case, so say the coronavirus disappears in August, then football season is going to be right around the corner, right? Training camp is going to be going down. You have fall camp / 2 days for college football and high school sports around high school football around the country. So football will be getting ready to open the door. And September is when really the season starts for both leagues, and then obviously high school football as well. So say the coronavirus strikes again. Could you imagine what the circumstances will be like if the virus hits again right at the start of football season? Because football is king in America. It has the highest ratings, has the most fans, has the biggest stadiums. So it makes the most noise, right? So imagine the virus hitting and taking a toll once more. That means they'll have no choice but to suspend all of football. pretty much for the whole season in that case. Because if it's not going to end until December, then there's no football at all. So I couldn't imagine. I mean, I'm already shocked. I'm still in shock right now that there's no NFL. I mean, not NFL, no NBA, no Major League Baseball for now, no NHL. I mean, pretty much any spring sport you can think about is no more for now. And imagine football being in the same predicament. I do not want to think about it, but that's what it looks like. And it looks like America as a whole is not really doing what they can to slow down this virus, because when you look at the country like China and South Korea, right, you notice their cases have slowed down. I'm not saying both countries contain the virus, but they slowed it down tremendously. And you're looking at Europe and America and Canada and countries like that, it's continuing to spike, right? Because it's our turn. It's our turn to make a choice whether we should slow this virus down or continue to make it even worse as it is. And so far, America's not really doing a good job slowing down this virus, because you have thousands of college students traveling to Florida and South Padre Island and all these beaches to spring break, right? But hey, buddy, your spring break's going to last the rest of the semester because there's no school. So why don't you just tone it down a notch? Because you being in these large crowds of people, like with thousands of people on the beach, anybody can be infected, right? And we don't understand completely, but we can see how this virus is extremely contagious, right? You can go from 5 cases to 25 cases. It's just a curve, right? It continues to grow and grow and grow and grow. And you going into huge crowds like this is not making it any better. When you look at China and South Korea, they're doing whatever they can to slow it down. They were sanitizing their cities and towns in the streets and everything twice a day. Do you see people in America doing that? No, you don't. So the discipline, that's the thing. That America has a lack of discipline when it comes to stuff like that. And I personally don't see us coming out of this anytime soon, because the actions that we're making right now is definitely not helping. But I just wanted to bring that up. And, I forgot to bring this up earlier about the New Orleans Saints. So I brought up the NFC South, how it's going to just be extremely entertaining if football were to have a full-out season without coming to a halt due to the coronavirus. Head coach Sean Payton for the Saints, tested positive for the coronavirus a day ago. And so it sounds completely ridiculous for most people to hear about celebrities catching this disease, because it just seems like the media likes to, really put a pedestal on all these people, which I don't really blame them. I mean, these people are very talented at what they do, and they're receiving a lot of praise for it. But these public figures are prime examples of how we should practice social distancing and staying away from people, because when you hear about all these celebrities getting it, that means everybody. That's proof. So for you people that worship celebrities and all that, I mean, that might sound just completely egregious for whoever's listening to this, but I'm going to say it anyway. For those of you that like to kiss their feet, that's proof that everybody's vulnerable. Every single human being is vulnerable to this virus, and I'm just tired of hearing about people catching it. Every day there's people dying from it. It's just, we should take it a little bit more, not a little bit more, we should take it a lot more serious than we are right now. So that's enough about my little rant about the coronavirus. So back to what I was saying about track. I'm completely sorry that I talked about that, but I had to just get it out of my system. So all these superb athletes that were supposed to run during the NCAA Indoor Championship, which was supposed to happen last weekend, Matthew Bowling and all these other freshmen were going to be competing in the Indoor 60 and as well as the 200. We could have saw some greatness, possibly some records broken. But we can't. We got to wait another year. Luckily, these guys are freshmen. They'll be freshmen again next year because they granted another year of eligibility. So technically, they're not even redshirt freshmen. They're just still freshmen because, that's what happened with the NCAA. But I really wanted to see something like that, and I really wanted to see the outdoor season. I was really looking forward to it. I was actually supposed to have a guest on the show, and Malcolm White. I'm not saying that he's not going to be on the show, but due to these circumstances, we can't talk about the championship. We were supposed to talk about it together on the podcast a week ago. So Malcolm, if you're listening to this, I still love you, buddy. You're going to get on the show pretty soon. We just got to move on to plan B. But as of now, the Olympics has not been canceled, and I believe they have until May to make that decision, but it seems like the virus is continuing to progress, and if that's the case, they'll have no choice but to cancel the Olympics. And you know how much of a blow that'll be to all those involved? Because think about it, the last time they competed in the Olympics was 2016, so 4 years ago, right? It's every 4 years for those that don't really know much about the Olympics. The Summer Olympics, they happen every 4 years. So that means that's an 8-year gap between 2016. You have to wait till 2024 to compete again. So it's not like NCAA where, you granted another year of eligibility, or the NFL, we can play next season, or any professional league, you got another year. It's every year. they have a season going on. Now, for the Olympics, it doesn't work that way. It's every 4 years. So these athletes, if it were to get canceled, they have to wait another 4 years, and some people might be too old by then. Because if you think about it, if you're 26 right now, you'll be 30 by the time you're coming back. I'm not saying that they're old, because 30 is still young. But like when it comes to being in your prime, especially for a sprinter, if you're a 100-meter sprinter or a 400-meter sprinter or just track runner, period, usually you hit your peak between age, I say 24 to 29, around that range. And once you get beyond that, then it depends on how well you take care of yourself. Now, Justin Gatlin is a different breed. I'll put it that way. I mean, despite the fact that he got in trouble for, using supplements and stuff like that or steroids, still, this guy was nearly 40 years old, still running a sub 9.9 100-meter dash. So he's an exception. But ultimately, if you were to paint the picture together, tie it all down, it's going to be extremely rare for you to make it, not only after 30, but, once you hit 30 years of age and then continue to get older, chances are you're not going to be as fast as you were when you were between age 24 to 29. I'm just going to say that because that's how it's been for over 100 years now for most athletes. So again, for high school athletes, collegiate athletes, or pro athletes affiliated with any spring sport, I feel really sorry for you guys. I really hope you guys keep your head up, and this is just a bump in the road where you guys will be able to recover. If you guys are still optimistic about playing, definitely keep your head up because it's not over. I mean, think about it. This entire world is suffering the same thing right now. We're all going through this together. So just because if whoever's on lockdown, you're not the only one that's quarantined. I mean, everything is limited right now. You can't even work out to the gym, at the gym, for crying out loud. So everybody has to improvise now. You got to be able to go to Walmart maybe. If you're determined to do something, you'll go to Walmart and buy weights because Walmart is cheap anyway. You can just go to Walmart, buy a few weights here and there, watch some YouTube tutorial videos on how to work out at home without going to the gym. I mean, there's plenty of things you can do to entertain yourselves during this time of need for everybody, right? So in order to put an end to what's going on, because we're at war with the same enemy, and it happens to be a microorganism, do as you're told from health officials. It's not that hard. It doesn't take that much energy to follow instructions. I know people want to party. I know people want to get out and socialize. I get it. We all do, don't we? I mean, even if you're an introvert, at some point you do want to socialize with somebody. Well, I hope you do. So that being said, just follow the rules, man. Like the faster you abide by these rules that are being, issued by, upper people in the upper echelon, like for example, like the CDC here in America and other, high top tier or top notch health agencies in other countries, you follow directions, then you can put this so-called coronavirus not to an end, but like you can basically put it to an end. That didn't make any sense. So what I'm trying to say is if you follow the rules, then next thing you know, everything will be back to normal. All right. Just disregard what I said about the Washington Post. No, don't even disregard that. Definitely just chime in and listen. So go if you want to read the article. As a matter of fact, I'm not making any sense right now, but if you want to read what's going on, go to Google, type in Washington Post, coronavirus may alter the U.S. If you type that in, first link that pops up, I guarantee you it'll be the right one. It's been all over Twitter. It's been all over the internet. Read that article and you'll know what I'm talking about, because I feel bad for people who have jobs in the sports media industry. Like you got local TV sports anchors right now or sports reporters getting moved to news because there's really no sports to cover, right? So that's very unfortunate. They didn't sign up to be a news reporter. They signed up to be a sports reporter. But due to these dire circumstances, they are just pulled into news, right? And for those sports writers out there or people who are in radio or television, just anything that has to do with sports media, it's just coming to a standstill for them because they're going to struggle to find content. The only people that are actually having content right now, it's still a struggle for them, is ESPN, Fox. What are they talking about? NFL free agency, right? Because that's the only news they can talk about right now. Or they can just talk about who's the best boxer of all time. I saw that segment today on First Take from Max Kellerman. And who's the best running back of all time, or who's the best point guard of all time. I mean, that's pretty much the only, topics that they can cover at this point. They can't really cover anything current because there's nothing current. So it's not just in sports media, but there's plenty of people losing jobs in the restaurant industry and, in hospitality. And then, I mean, there's plenty of different categories where people have jobs in that they're getting laid off by because of what's going on with this disease. So if you guys desperately want your job back, if you desperately want everything to get back to normal, I urge you to follow instructions. It's not that hard just to stay away from people. who knows? We might all need a break, right? And this is the time to take advantage of that. And stay healthy, wash your hands, stay away from people who are sick. I mean, it's the same guidelines you're going to hear from nurses and other health officials out there. So that's a little bit, well, not necessarily a little bit. That's pretty much all I have to say in this episode. I'll see you guys again on Monday. Again, I told you the same format every week. I'll do my very best to follow the same schedule as in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is the norm for me to be uploading episodes. But, here and there, if there's more content to cover, I'll have episodes in between. So you expect an episode on a Tuesday or maybe on a Thursday or maybe even on the weekend. It just depends on what I get. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know it was a little bit off because are we all off right now? I mean, look what's going on. So there's that. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend and stay safe.